Hi there. Thanks for coming to my channel, Software Test Automation for Eternity. So in this channel, we cover various topics in software testing, mainly for automation framework and tools. But also we wanted to cover software testing fundamentals. So this video is a series of videos that we're putting together to cover software testing fundamentals using interview questions. So I said this one in previous video as well, but I think to be a successful test automation engineers or STAT, I think having a good understanding of software testing fundamental is always beneficial. So I like to cover that first, and then we're gonna do a whole lot more about test automation frameworks and tools. Okay, so today is a part four. So I named it a black box testing trap. And this one comes up a lot in my interview with QA engineers candidate, and I wanted to cover. But this one is not necessarily a trap, but something that if you're applying for the QA engineer role, something that you might want to think about. So, and then there's some good sort of fundamentals inside it. So let's take a look at it. Okay. So, um, so there, one of the categories of testing is this black box, gray box, and white box testing. And yeah, so black box testing is very exciting because something as a tester is a break mentality. You want to break things through the testing, and then there's some of the engineers are pretty good at breaking things in software. So let me just mention the definition of it. It is so black box testing basically is the testing the application or software without knowing the internal code structure or the technology that is used and the path that their internal path or something, the conditionals that need to go through. So so for the most part, when it comes to how you test certain things, and a lot of test engineers are just coming in, the candidate coming into throwing a lot of test cases, right? So I want to test this, I want to test that. So something to think about this one is in most case, if you're working for a company, you would know the code structure. You would understand. I mean, even if you don't not very technical person, you would know what the code structure is, what kind of technology is used. So we need to think about what will be the good scenario when you work for a company where you have those resources, or you know the person that who developed the code. Uh, but you want to do the black box testing. What would be the good case for black box testing? And yes, definitely there is a lot of issue that comes even if you know the structure and implementation details. So one thing I like to call out it is uh, instead of calling a black box testing, I like to call it like exploratory testing. It's not a category of testing, but black box means you don't know any internals, and then white box testing basically you know internals. And for the most part, you have practical sense. I mean, when you work for the company, you will know internals, implementation, or technology that you use. So I think when it actually comes to practical, black box testing, I think it's more of an exploratory testing, and so because now you're approaching testing without knowing the structure and code structure and implementation, and this exploratory testing and bug based can uncover a lot of assumptions that the project team had made, development team made, and there might be some sort of an integration issue that happens in the software, right? So it could be uh, performance issues, it could be so just integration didn't work out, and there's some error cases when user does certain things. So I like to call that out. I think instead of definition of black box, gray box, and white box testing, you want to know when it is useful when you use the black box testing. Okay, so let's go to the interview question, something like this. So you're testing a mobile app which allows you to take a photo of a tree and returns the number of leaves in the tree, right? So how would you test this, right? Or something like you're testing an automatic laundry folding machines. It takes a photo of a clothing one at a time, and then it folds the clothes. So how would you go about testing it? So I wouldn't say this one is a trap, but has a lot of variations, right? So let's say for the first example, mobile app, you can take a photo and then returns the number of leaves, right? And you can use, I mean, you can start with various types of trees, no leaves, the tree with no leaves, and then different weather situations, and so there are many test cases you can come up with. But again, this one comes into um, so that might be, yeah, that might be a good answer for it. But maybe the intention of this is not about how many test cases you can come up with around these testing problems. So then what? So we always mention in previous video, you wanna understand the context of the problem, and also you don't want to make an assumptions. And on top of that, now there is something that you don't know about, right? So you probably wanted to ask the first one, the accuracy of number of leaves is the hard part, right? So you can do a lot of inputs, but how can you ensure the number of leaves are returning correctly? And what should come to your mind is what kind of technology is using in the back end to calculate this, right? So there might be an interface that you need to, I mean, take a photo, and then the photo will get sent to the backend, and it'll just do the image processing. And so even if you don't know the details of technology behind, like it's some sort of image processing happen, but you want to follow up and ask, you want to know because that resource will be available when you work for a company, right? So yes. So first, maybe you want to know what kind of technology is there. Is an API they can attest. So that kind of comes into the black box plus the internals, right? So you know the technology. It naturally comes to black box testing, uh, which is the outside, taking a photo from the app to the backend image processing process, and then what level of limitation is there, what can be done, and then you can actually come up with a lot of error cases that is quite valid, yeah, without knowing anything. You could have many test cases, edge cases that you come up, or creative cases that come up, may not helpful for testing these particular apps, right? The same thing goes in here, laundry machine, and let's say it take a photo, and then it sends, the API can send back the folding instructions, and then the machine does it. So yeah, so you can have various types of clothes, socks, underwear, whatever, right? So you can put those in there. But what you wanted to know is, you want to know what kind of technology is in behind, how this one does actually work. So that's the sort of key aspect that you wanted to answer for these kind of interview questions. So to conclude that, right? So for this kind of question, again, always think about the assumption you're making, and always try to understand the context and then the issue or technology. So the more context you get, the better your testing strategy or test case will be, right? And then don't jump into the setting, providing many test cases for this particular one. That be the uh, may not be the right answer for certain uh, the software testing interview questions. Okay, thank you so much. If you enjoyed this video, yeah, there's a subscribe. There's a button for subscribe. So if you can subscribe, that'd be helpful for YouTube algorithms. And if you liked this video, please press the thumbs up button. Okay, thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.